we're working a little bit more on factoring today. We're going to work on factoring trinomials. For those of you that are away, we pray for you and hope you're having a great time. And we hope that you come back with some good testimonies of what God's doing in your lives. We're going to work on factoring trinomials. Remember, trinomial is a polynomial with 3 parts. Okay, now the trinomials we're going to factor today have a coefficient of 1 with the first term. What we're going to notice about these trinomials, yesterday we talked about you always look to see if there's something in common across the whole polynomial. Well, these trinomials will not have anything in common across all 3 trinomials. I want to look at example 1 here. I prefer you not look too far ahead because I'd like to go over it with you. But the actual trinomial to factor is x squared plus 7x
Should I stay together?
plus 10.
No.
Okay? So we have this trinomial, and the directions on your page say to factor it. First thing we should always check for is to see if there's anything in common. And is there?
Only
Just a 1. Okay, so there's nothing in common across all 3 terms. We don't have 2 sets of 2 terms, so we can't break it down like that. But since we have a coefficient of 1, we are going to be able to use a little trick. Okay? Now in this little trick, we are going to list, over here we're going to list the factors of this last term. We're going to list the factors of the constant. So here we're going to give factors of 10. Not prime factors, but factors of 10. Now I'm not going to actually, when we get going on these, I'm not going to write the column labels on everything. And over here, we're going to list the sum of those factors. Okay, we're going to list the sum of those factors. So when I'm talking about factors of 10, I'm talking about a pair of numbers that you can multiply together to get 10.
2,
Okay, so 2 and 5. We also have
5 and 5.
5. Wait. 5 and 5 give 25.
10 and 1.
10 and 1. Now, let me just say, some of them are going to be easy things to do. Some are going to be difficult. If you always start with the one that starts 1 times something, that's a good place to start. So 1 and 10 is 1 pair of factors. And what's the sum of 1 and 10?
11.
11. And you said also 2 and 5?
Yeah.
And actually 1 and 10 and 2 and 5 are all of them. What's the sum of 2 and 5? 7. So what you do is you look at the factors of this last term, and you make sure that the sum is the coefficient of the middle term.
Oh.
So in this case, 7 is our winner. Okay? So that means that the factors 2 and 5 are extremely important. This trinomial is going to factor to be the product of 2 binomials. Okay? 2 binomials. In other words, we're really unfoiling this thing. Okay? The first terms are x and x. Okay? First, outer, inner, last. First terms are x and x. When we find the one that gives us the sum of the middle term, these are the 2 numbers that go in this place right here and this place right here. So our factored form of this trinomial is x plus 2 times x plus 5. Okay? Now in order to check it, we multiply it back out. Okay, so our check to make sure that you got it right is you do first, outer, inner, last. So our first terms are x squared. The outer terms are 5x. The inner terms are 2x. And the last terms are 10. Right? So you add them, you combine the like terms. We have x squared plus 7x plus 10. We got back what we started with. This right here, this is our answer. Okay? It's a very simple, nice method to be able to always factor a trinomial as long as this coefficient is 1. Now we have a very nice trick if the coefficient is not 1, but we won't get that until tomorrow. Okay, so you're always going to do the factors of this term, and then look at the sums and make sure the sum matches. Alright? So this is great. We have a positive times a positive. It gives you, when you add them, you get a positive, and you have a positive in the middle. Alright, so let's get another example of one of those, just so that we have another one to go with. Let's do x squared plus 4x. I'm just doing the first one, plus 3. Okay? So we're going to make our little chart here. This is going to be the factors, and this is going to be the sum. What's your factors, Alexis? 1 and 3? That's really the only one, right?
Yeah.
And that gives you a 4? Now, if you tried all the factors and you never got the sum, you would say that it's prime, and you can't factor it. So this one then, if 1 and 3 is our only choice.
Now you get x plus 1.
Good, x plus 1 and
then you get x plus 3.
X plus 3. And if we checked it and we multiplied it back out, we would get that this is the answer. So very nice, very simple. Sometimes it's easy like this where there is only one choice, but sometimes you have to go through. If you're systematic and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on, you're going to make sure that you don't miss anything. All right, now we don't always have plus and plus here. Okay, we know that, right? Sometimes we have other things. So since not all of them are factorable, I'm just going to make sure I pick one that is. Yeah, we're going to look at example B, actually. Plus 7. So we're going to be looking for the factors of what?
7.
Good, so we're looking for the factors of 7. And then we're going to add the factors to try and get a total of how much?
-8.
Negative 8. Okay? So my factors being, what factors do you see here?
-1.
1 and 7, but will that work?
No.
No, because I can't get a negative that way. If you have a negative in the middle, you have to think of the negative factors. So we have to think of -1 times -7 also gives you +7. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have a negative in the middle, you have to look at the negative factors. If you have a positive in the middle, you have to look at the positive factors. So how much is -1 plus -7?
-8.
Okay, so that works. Now once again on this one there's not really a choice. Okay? But let's take a look at this. What will my answer come out to be then?
X minus 1, x minus 7.
Good, x minus 1, x minus 7. Now, the great thing about these is they'll always start with, if it's an x, it'll start with an x. If it's an a squared, it'll start with an a. If it's a b squared, it'll start with a b. So you've got a nice start on all of these, unless you come to a case where you can't factor it at all. Where you've tried every scenario and it didn't work. Let's try, I'm going to do number 8 on your sheet. Because that's kind of along the same category. We have p squared minus 16p plus 64. Okay, so we're going to look at the factors, and then we're going to add them. Now, am I looking for positive factors of 64 or negative?
Negative.
Negatives, because you got it, when you add negatives, you get negatives. So let's start with 1. What is -1 times what is -64? Okay, that gives us -65. We haven't hit our winner yet. Now, what you do is you just keep listing factors until you find the one. What about negative 2?
Negative 8 times negative 8.
Okay, that will be the answer, yes. And if you do find it earlier, that's fine. I'm going to do it systematically, though, to just show you. Because sometimes, if you don't see it right away, you get stuck. So if you do see it right away, go with that. But I'm just saying if you get stuck, go systematically. So negative 2 times negative 32, that's negative 34. That doesn't work. Does 3 go into 64? No. No? How about 4? 4 times... How would you find out? If you have your calculator, how are you going to use that to help you?
64 divided by
64 divided by negative
Right,
4.
so you divide 64 by 4, and you get 16, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's negative 20. We're not quite there yet. Does 5 go in? No, and you can always check by dividing on your calculator. So how about 6?
No.
No? How about 7?
No.
How about 8? And that actually gives us the answer.
Whoa.
Alright, so that means that when we put this, we do our factored form, we get, what goes in the front?
P.
No, P.
Oh,
P minus 1.
Okay. Watch your variables, make sure that they match. P, and then we get
Minus
1.
minus 8, minus 8. You have to make sure you pick the one that actually works. This is the one that's got negative 16. There's your winner. That's your answer. Okay? You like this?
It is good.
It's not too hard, right? Factoring does not have to be difficult once you get it. Okay? Once you get good at it, don't let factoring bother you. It's an extremely important skill for you to learn. Okay, this is like really, really, really high on the list of the things that you must learn before you get out of Algebra 2. You have to be good at factoring in all forms. You have to be good at pulling out a common factor. You have to be good at factoring trinomials, which is what we're working on right now. All right, so that works out well. When you have a plus here, you're either going to have a plus plus or a minus minus. You go through the factors and you find an answer. Now, what happens when we have another scenario like this? This is like your example 2. X squared plus 6x minus 16. Alright, I'm going to do the same method. You're going to look for factors. But in this case, you're looking for factors of what? Factors of negative 16. So this is a little bit trickier. We're still going to add. Okay? But in order to get a negative, you have to multiply a positive times a negative. So we have to be a little more careful here. We have to look at the positive version and the negative version of the factors. So let's start with positive 1 and negative 16. Okay, that's going to give us negative 15. So actually we just learned something there, didn't we? If you make your bigger number the negative 1, you're going to get a negative answer. We're looking for a positive answer. So really what we need to do is look at the other side. We need to be thinking, wait a minute, what about if the positive 1 is bigger? And in this case we get how much? What's negative 1 and 16?
15.
Positive 15. So a way that you can save yourself from time is if this is a positive here, don't even worry about the ones where the negative one's bigger. Okay? So does negative 2 go into negative 16?
Yeah.
How many times?
8.
8. That gives us 6. And there it is. That's the one we were looking for. Okay? Here's our winner. Ding, 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 like you just said. Alright, so that means that my two numbers that go in here are negative 2 and 8. So here we have x minus 2 and
X
x
plus 8.
plus 8. And if we wanted to check it, we can FOIL, or you can multiply the binomials.
Yeah.
First terms are x squared. Outer is plus 8x. Inners are
Negative 2.
minus 2x. And then the last terms are minus 16. Put the like terms together. And the good thing is that we did come out with our answer. This method is, if you're careful, this method is foolproof. Yes.
What happens if the middle number and the last number are both negative?
Okay, let's pick one.
Number 12.
Number 12, number 4. Luke, it was your question. Which one should we do?
Let's do number
4,
13.
But
4 or 12?
13.
12. Okay, let's do 12.
did that.
oh,
Okay.
too bad.
12. Y squared minus 7y minus 8. So we're going to be finding the factors of what?
Negative 8.
Negative 8. We're going to be finding the factors of negative 8. So in this case, you're going to have to find the sum where you get negative 7. So we're looking for factors of negative 8. So for example, if I tried negative 1 and 8, I'm going to get a positive 7. But what if I did
1 and negative
1 and negative 8? I get a negative 7. We need to have an answer of negative 7 for this one.
Oh, it's fast.
It has to match the middle. If there's a negative here, it has to match. So for this one, we want our negative factor to be bigger than our positive factor. So you're always going to do the same thing as far as listing factors. How you figure out which is the right one is your sum has to match exactly the sum of the middle term. So once you've found the factors, you don't have to do anything else besides write down the answer. It's a very nice thing. We have y, we have y, we have
Y plus 1.
plus 1,
And then Y minus 8.
and minus 8. And it's a really, really, really neat method. This is, I'll tell you what, when I was taught this in school, we weren't given this whole thing over here. It was more of a just think it through and figure out, and there was no real good explanation. I like the way that this is explained. It gives you a really good way of figuring out these problems. We should take a look at what happens when you've got a variable and another variable to deal with.
Ooh,
Like, for example, number 19.
19.
Okay. We have x squared plus 2xy
that's nasty.
plus y squared. Okay, so we can still do this the same way, but we're looking for factors of what? Of y
Y
squared.
squared.
Okay, and we're going to try and add them. Now this is a little bit, it's a little bit harder to see because you have this extra x here. So we're really looking for our sum to be 2y. Yeah, well, because you know, like when we had the other ones, for example, when you had x squared plus 5x, sorry, it's an x, it really is. Okay, plus 5x plus 4, for example, you were looking for your sum to equal the coefficient of x. So here the coefficient of x is actually 2y. So here our factors of y are what?
Y and y.
Y and y.
Negative y and negative.
So how much is y plus y?
2y.
2y, the sum. And so really what we were looking for was 2y in the middle. So y and y works. Great. X plus y and x plus y.
So we just drop the x.
Well, you're not really dropping it, because like if you did this one, you would be looking for factors of 4, right? And you'd get 4 and 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that would give you 5. And it would be, notice that
But you're trying to
the
get
middle is
2.
really 5x. Here the middle is 2yx. So you're looking for 2y to be your middle term.
Oh, I get it.
So
Okay.
it's a little bit trickier. We won't do too many like that. Just a little bit. I want you to get super, super, super good with the ones that have all the numbers in. Okay? But I also don't want you to neglect the couple that are here because you can do them. Another good thing to do, like for example number 18, if you take a look at number 18, you should always put them in descending order first. So always write the trinomial in descending order. Descending order. Okay, so for example, if you had one like number 9 that says 9 minus 10x plus x squared, that's really hard to factor like that, so we need to rewrite it. How would I rewrite that so that it's in a better order?
X squared minus 10x plus 9.
Plus 9. Good. So put it in descending order first, and then once it's in descending order, then you can factor it. What number are we factoring?
9.
Factor 9. And then we'll add them. So let's go for factors of 9. I'm looking at, okay, 3 and 3 is going to give us a positive 6. We're looking for a negative 10 though. So can I even use positive and positive? No.
Negative 1. Negative 1. No.
Negative 1, negative 9. Negative 1 and negative 9 gives us negative 10. And that's what we're looking for, is a negative 10. So my answer is x minus 1 and x minus 9. Alright. So, question and answer.
Can we do number 20?
Number 20.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do 20. We have a squared minus 4ab plus 4b squared. Alright, so for this one, we're trying to factor 4b squared. And we're going to try and find a sum that's going to give us 4b, or negative 4b. So, what times what gives you 4b squared?
Negative 2 and negative 2 and b.
Negative 2b and
Oh, yeah.
negative 2b, right? So that gives you negative 4b when you add them, and that's what we're looking for. The a is from the beginning, but we're looking for negative 4b in the middle. So it would be a and a minus 2b and minus 2b.
Thank you.
Yes. No. Oh, wait a minute. You mean like this? Yes, that. Yes, like that. I thought you meant 2b squared and one parenthesis. No, okay, yeah, this is absolutely right. A minus 2b. This is the same thing as this. As a matter of fact, we need to start getting used to seeing that. So I would accept either one of these answers. This one, make sure that you understand that this is the same as this. That's really important.
So they basically equal.
Yep, they're the same thing. Either one of these answers is just as correct. All right, and let's